I didn't know I was lonely until 5 minutes ago.
You have a contact list. You have a group chat. You have what they call a support network. Guys from the neighborhood, coworkers, guys at the gym, the neighbor, people you've known for years. And you know, somewhere underneath all of it, that if your life caved in tomorrow, none of those people would actually show up. I mean, they'd post about it. Most men are lonely. They just don't know it. And that's not a hot take. That's the headline. And if you clicked on this because something about it made you ask, wait, am I one of them? Keep watching. Because the answer is probably yes. And the conversation that we're about to have is the one nobody else is having. Men don't die alone because nobody likes them. Men die alone because nobody knows them. Look, I have to tell you what we're doing here. Because the conversation that everybody else is having about this is a complete mess. I mean, you're either being told that you're a victim of toxic culture and that you need rescue, or you're being told that you chose this and you need to man up. Both sides allowed, neither one is going to help you. We're going to do something different. We're going to look at what is actually underneath the data. We're going to refuse both tribes. And then this is the part that you can't get anywhere else. I'm going to bring a friend of mine, not a guest, a friend, who's going to show you a way through. And you're going to watch it happen in a room. We're going to walk out cleaner than you walked into this mess. That's the promise today. Now, the friend I'm bringing in, he drives a truck, drinks Crown Royale, and his language is not Sunday morning ready. From the outside, he looks like the last guy who'd be a pastor's closest friend. And you're going to want to meet him. But hang on a second. Let me start with what's true here. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General put out an advisory on loneliness. The headline number was that being chronically lonely raises your risk of dying early by about 29%. Shocking. I mean, it's literally in the same neighborhood as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Same neighborhood as alcohol abuse. Loneliness is literally killing people. But the report got uncomfortable when it broke these things down. Because among men, the loneliness numbers are climbing. Married men, men with kids, men with jobs, men who by every external metric should be fine. The crisis didn't show up where you would have expected. It shows up in the guys who on paper have a life. The man named Robert Putnam, he wrote a book back in 2000 called Bowling Alone. And he tracked what happened to American friendships over 50 years. The clubs, the leagues, the neighborhood tribes, the places men used to gather without reason. They collapsed. Men got hit the hardest, not because of any one thing, but because of everything. The move out of small towns, the screens, the work hours, the slow erosion of every place men used to just be somewhere together. There's a researcher named Niobe Way, and she studies boys for a living, and she figured something out that should bother all of us. She found out that boys around 12 years old, those boys are emotionally articulate. They name what they feel, they have close friends, they use the word love with each other. And then somewhere between 14 and 17, they get the message. Real men don't do that. Toughen up. Don't be soft. So they stop and they lose that language. And the friendships go with it. By 25, most of them couldn't tell you what a close friendship feels like, even if you offer them money. Now, here's the line that opened up for me. Women's friendships run on shared talk. But men's friendships, this won't surprise you a bit, run on shared tasks. Get in there and do something. Conversation happens on the side, working on the truck, tearing out the kitchen, sitting at the campfire after a long day. The doing is the language. And the culture stripped men of the task. Most of us don't fix anything anymore. We don't farm with anyone. We don't build a barn with a neighbor. And the culture mocked the talk. So you've got men whose friendships were built to run on two engines, and we shut off both of the engines. Think about that. And we wonder why men are quiet. Okay, diagnosis is on the table. Now look at what the loud takes are saying about it. One tribe says, men are in crisis. They've been failed. They need empathy and rescue, a movement, a soft landing. Reform the culture so men can be safe again. The other tribe says, men have always been responsible for themselves. They have no business asking for sympathy. They just need to put their shoulder down, get to the gym, find a wife, stop whining. I want you to know both of those tribes are completely wrong. And not because there's nothing true in either of those tribes. There's something true in both. I mean, the empathy tribe is right that the conditions change and most men didn't choose that. The consequence tribe is right that whining isn't a strategy and pity isn't a friendship. But they're both arguing about the same wrong thing. They're arguing about volume. How many men, how loud the alarm, how big the intervention. And the actual problem is depth. You don't need 30 friends. You need 3. 3 guys who would actually show up at 2 a.m. 3 guys who would drive to the hospital. 3 guys who, if you stopped answering your phone for 2 weeks, would at least come knock on your door. Most men have a list of 40 names, and not one of those are the 3. And every piece of content getting served to you right now is just trying to add more names. Think about it. They just say, get out there, network, try this app, join this group. You do not need more names. You need to be known by just a few. Okay, I have to tell you something. Something I guess you could say I've kind of held back on purpose here so far, because this place where I want to go next is going to go a little bit deeper than the data. I'm a pastor. If I led with that, I really believe that half of the men that I want to be talking to right now would have clicked away. But you're still here. So let me tell you why. Here's what I've watched. People walk into my office in pieces. And almost every time, the core thing isn't the divorce or the diagnosis or the dollars. It's that they're holding the worst thing they've ever been through. And there is no one on the planet that they can hand it to. It doesn't have a Christian answer or a non-Christian answer. That's the human answer first. You need someone who knows you. But here's where the conviction comes in. The man that I follow, Jesus, he had 3 friends. He was actually known by 3 people. He had 12 disciples. He had hundreds, thousands of followers. But 3, Peter, James, John, they were the ones who walked into the hardest rooms with him. And if God himself in human form organized his life around 3 close friendships, maybe the math that we keep doing, that the more I network, the less alone I'll feel, is exactly backwards. 3 is not the consolation prize. 3 is the design. That's the floor underneath the floor. And the reason you feel unknown is not because you don't try hard enough. It's because you were built to be known by a few. And the culture handed you 40 names instead. Which brings me back to my friend. Years ago, I had to admit something embarrassing to myself. I looked around at my life. I knew dozens of guys. Jeep club, church, work, coffee shop. My phone was full. And I knew that if my world caved in tomorrow, most of them wouldn't even show up. And not because they're bad guys, believe me, but because we weren't built together. I'd been watching this one guy for a while. He's different from me. He's the He's a truck driver. He drinks Crown Royale. He has language that, well, doesn't get cleaned up that often. And he is the last guy anybody would have paired with me. And I'd noticed him for years. And one day I told my wife, I want a friend. And if I want a friend, I would have to make a friend. So I called him. I asked him to lunch. He thought I had an agenda. I didn't. I just wanted to make a friend. That was years ago. And there's a part of the story that he doesn't know yet. He doesn't know what it cost me to be in his corner. And you're going to watch him discover that in real time. Watch what happens when he finds out. Hang on, because here comes the interview. All right, welcome, Grace and Greg fans. I told you that we would be doing an interview, and so I've got my buddy TK here with me, and he was gracious enough to come in and do this interview because we're talking about this idea of male loneliness. And so TK came in this morning, and he's got his, I think, coffee going. He's raring and ready to go. How you doing, TK?
I'm doing great. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. All right. What I want to do is kind of help people understand who you are. So what is a regular Tuesday for TK? You know, from alarm going off till crashing at night, what happens in TK's day?
I get up in the morning, take a shower, make the coffee, make my lunch just like everybody else. Maybe have some cereal, head to work. Right now I'm driving a fuel tanker.
Right.
So we do that all day. We try and avoid explosions, avoid the wonderful drivers in the Sioux Falls area,
right.
And do that. It might be a 5-hour day. It might be a 16-hour day or a 15-hour day. It just kind of depends. And of course, go home, have supper, and get some sleep, and start all over again the next day.
Okay, so considering that, so like for me, you know, I get asked a strange question every now and then, like, it must be great to only have to work on Sunday. Someone can't get their head around, you know, what it is to be a pastor, you know, throughout the week. What do people get wrong about your job, a truck driver?
I think the biggest thing is I don't think they have enough respect for what that thing is. You know, that's 80,000 pounds. Your car pickup is 3, 4, 5,000 pounds. And if you pull out in front of that thing, you're dead.
Okay, so you and I met in the Jeep Club, basically.
Right, out there taking perfectly good Jeeps and trying to make them crawl over rocks bigger than we are.
Exactly. So why were you out there?
I was out there.
Back then, when you first started, why?
My brother and his best friend had small Jeeps at the time, little, pretty much factory stock Jeeps, and they'd been going out there. And I bought one. I'd always wanted one, and I bought one. And they said, "Oh, you should come out and go on the trails. It's a lot of fun."
For sure. Let me shift a little bit. And I do know a little bit of your story, but if I was going to ask you the question about like your dad, what would you say? What would you say about your dad and his what you know about how he dealt with other men or relationships?
Oh, that was my dad grew up on a farm. I don't think he really had anything for a social life until the kids got older and started getting into school. And then he enjoyed it. I noticed I have 3 siblings, and the next one younger than me is 8 years younger than me. So, and then they're all pretty close together again. So after me, they had to decide, do we want to, you know, roll the dice? Do we roll the dice again and hope for something better?
So you saw him have friendships.
I did, yeah. It was, I don't know that it was a friendship where, you know, you and I do breakfast on a regular occasion, right, and do things like that. I think it was kind of more that they ended up at the same place and they knew each other. Farmers know each other, you know, so I don't know how much of it. He had some closer friends and some, you know, a lot of acquaintances.
All right, so you're around men all day long, truck stops, wherever, on the road, you know, all that sort of thing. What is something that you see in truck driving kind of guys that I would never see from my seat? like the rest of us would never see? Like,
Well-
who are, like, what's their motivation? What kind of guys are they?
They really, when you get down to it, they're really just like everybody else in the world. You have something in common, so you discuss that. But some of them are very courteous to the other ones in their profession. Some of them are very discourteous to other ones in their profession. So some of them are very outgoing. Some of them are very standoffish. They don't want anything to do with anybody. And it's very much like just the general public.
All right, of the guys that you know, how many of them, what percentage of them have someone they can call at 2 a.m?
I would guess that there's probably, I would guess that probably just about everyone does. What I would say is I would doubt that they know that they do or that they would.
Okay.
In other words, you probably have friends that, you mean if they had a dilemma or if they had an issue that they needed help with or something like that.
Yeah, or just that idea that someone's close enough to them, they're close enough to someone. Here's one that I kind of say. There's a unique kind of friendship that I call a refrigerator friend. Now, what a refrigerator friend is someone that's so close to you that when they come over to your house, they can just get up and go over to your refrigerator, open it, rummage through, get what they want. That's a refrigerator friend. That's pretty darn close, So it doesn't necessarily have to be that close, but how many guys have someone that they know that they can call on?
I would say I think it's more that they wouldn't.
Right.
That you might have friends that men don't always show people, hey, if you ever need somebody, just give me a call anytime. I mean, that's just not a conversation that men typically have unless they're in a situation like that. I would say that it's probably men will have a list of, what do you suppose, 40, 50 people in their phones or friend list or something. Let's say it's 20. There's still probably one in there that I'm more surprised by people throughout my life. I would think I would quit being surprised by people, but I'm still occasionally surprised by people. I've had people all my life that are occasional acquaintances. I see them, I talk with them, I visit with them, but we don't do anything together. I might not know where they live. I maybe don't have their phone number. And sometimes when you least expect it, these people turn that up to a 9 and they come to you with things that are of interest to you. And it's like, why did that guy even get involved?
Right.
Why did he tell me? Somewhere along the line, I must have done something for him or towards him that I didn't realize, that was having that kind of an effect on him.
Right.
And
so it is interesting how men in general have a difficult time saying, I'd like to be your friend. Mm-hmm. Will you be my friend? Like, that's just not something that guys ever say.
Would you like to be my neighbor?
Yes. we demonstrate it, right? Like, that's a communication. We demonstrate, right. Because if I come to you with an issue that's significant, that's another way of me saying I trust you. I see something in you that's worth me bringing this to you.
Right.
I like you in some way.
But I don't think the other man's sitting there thinking, oh, well, he must like me. And so
right.
I think it goes by us a lot.
Right.
Women are much more intuitive than we are.
Yeah. Would you say that guys in general have just a few guys that they go deeper with?
Yes. I think that a lot of guys have a small group that they maybe go have a beer with after work on Friday, or, that they will, if they're going to go out, especially, I guess, well, couples too, but if they're going to go out somewhere, they'll call another couple of people or something.
Has there ever been a time for you when somebody needed something, needed you to show up, or needed someone to show up, and you kind of had that urge that, like, maybe I should do this, and you didn't do it, and you kind of regretted that? You thought, gee, I could have been a better friend, or I should have paid more attention to this and been there for them, or stepped up for them.
I don't ever remember an instance like that, but I remember several instances in my life where I saw somebody that I think needed someone to intercede. And I remember having, I don't get to pre-think things a great deal, as you well know sometimes. But I had that split instance of thought of, should I get involved in this? But by then I was already committed.
Right.
And I guess with me, it went the other way. And when I knew we were going to talk about friendship, I kind of thought about, that I was a loner my whole life. And I thought, well, I wonder why that is. And it all went back to an incident in school. All the way through school, we were small school, classes of 8 to 28.
Right.
And so we all knew each other. And my best friends all the way through grade school, right on up to our freshman year. Freshman year, we went to a bigger town, and there was a guy there. I was with my two best friends. There was a guy there that apparently wanted to date a girl who liked me.
All right.
I wasn't even going out with her. So he's walking around with 5, 6 of his buddies. They're trying to trap me, and I don't know, but what kind of hurt on me. So I'm hanging kind of close to my two boys. And one of them turned to me at one point and he says, I just want you to know, we're your friends and everything, but if a fight happens, we're not going to be involved. And that's funny that all these years later, that still sits so hard with me.
That's interesting.
I'm friends with that guy, but I don't trust him to this day.
Sure.
I wouldn't, very nice guy. And I get it. He wasn't a fighter, but there's, that's flat out abandonment.
Right. I think we look at guys and we think like, well, that guy, I mean, he wouldn't be the kind of friend that like what I'm looking for or what I think, like I respect him, but I don't know if he respects me. I think I could trust him because I see the way he interacts with stuff. I don't know if he would feel the same about me. And you put yourself out there, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. So our first time kind of really connecting, I called you up and I said, hey, let's go to lunch. What did you think that lunch was about?
Well, I think your exact quote was, I'm a little low on my relationship with TK time. I need some TK input in my life. And I thought, oh my God, the fentanyl has gotten to Pastor Dunn.
That's right, yeah.
Well, I thought, great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on board with it, but when we first met, like you said, we were rock crawling.
Yeah.
And we'd been doing that for, 3 or 4 years, and we often stayed in the same place, and we had great conversations. We were friends, but we weren't, we were friends.
Right.
That was a typical friendship to me.
Right.
And we had a mutual friend that was having some issues. We were both trying to help through some things, and so we talked a little bit on that subject. But the biggest thing was at one of these events, I had a confrontation with a gentleman, and the gentleman, I always go to an event thinking, whatever happens to me. But when my wife and my kids are there, very much like you, that gets stepped up about 3 levels.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
That's where and this gentleman basically came completely unglued on me, and I was a little caught back by it, and I said, fine, give me my registration back. I just won't come back next year. And he went on, and this guy came out of, I don't know where he was, but you showed up and you confronted the guy, and you said, wait a minute, what you're doing here is wrong. I heard the whole thing.
Right.
And what you're doing to TK is wrong. And I'm like, wow, pastor's got an attitude. And you could have knocked me over with a feather. It just surprised me to no end.
Yeah.
And I thought, and that's where I think I've told you before, I don't know if I've ever had a man stand up for me in my life like that. Certainly not anywhere near that level. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I mean, it was new ground, It was like a girl that likes you back. You go, how do I deal with it? It's like, wow, I got to figure this out. But then, we kind of stayed in touch, and we became friends, and then later on when you called me and said, "Hey, let's go, do breakfast or whatever," I thought, "Oh, cool." And one thing turned to another. So
Right. Well, I tell you, it's like for me, I got to know you as someone that was real. Who TK is who TK is. And it doesn't matter if you're standing in front of a guy that has his life completely torn apart and his wife and kids hate him and he rolls his Jeep and, that kind of, like, it doesn't, you're still good to all those people and you give everybody a shot. And then you have a code. I don't know if you would have it written down, but I see you live a code. And that code is a code that I find resonates with my code, even though you're a trucker and I'm a pastor. And I think, the first time I decided, now I didn't make any decision that day that event took place. Like, obviously those events just unfolded in the moment. But I had already decided that you were going to be one of the people in my circle. I figured my life was better with you in it than not in it.
Well, thank you.
Now, that maybe is a conscious thought, but not that I really ever acted on that. I sought you out. We had conversations. I chose to spend time with you versus somebody else because of all those reasons.
And when did that occur to you?
It was just over time.
Oh.
Just kind of an overtime
Through the Jeeping
process.
stuff.
Through the Jeeping stuff, through our conversations, me watching you interact with your boys and your wife and, all these things. And so when that event took place and I heard it was happening, I was kind of at a distance, but it got loud enough I could hear it. And then I paused for a minute because I'm not going to jump in, like you can handle your own business. And so I let you handle your business. I wasn't sure if that guy was going to hit the deck or not, but you restrained, and and if he would have gone to the deck, I wouldn't have lost respect for you. He kind of deserved to hit the deck in a way.
That wasn't going to happen.
But your restraint also was another sign to me that you do have restraint. Like you can take care of yourself that way, but you also have a mind and you have a rationale where you can determine that something is worth it or not, or what value there is to this. But when the event happened and then you appropriately walked away from the situation, you had handled your business. And I knew at that moment it was time for me to handle mine. And so, immediately I saw the chasm, and there was going to be stay with this guy, which would be the club, or stay with the guy that I decided is my friend. And it was an easy decision in the moment. And I knew that the words I was going to say to this guy were going to be the thing that would determine which camp I was in. I wasn't looking to be in a camp.
Right.
But he's the one that created the situation, and he's the one that said my way or the highway, and you chose the highway, and so I just figured, well, I'm going to go with TK. So I let him know that in the way that I let him know that.
It pains me a little bit to think that you felt that way, that it had to be either or, because with me, we could have still been friends and you been with the club. That wouldn't have made one iota of difference to me. But I know you well enough to understand that wasn't for me. That was for you. That was something inside of you that made that a decision.
A justice piece, but it also was a decision for TK. It was a decision that this friendship means more to me. And I think when you finally decide there's a guy that you're willing to do life with, which I think is kind of, well, I'll finish that statement. But when you find a guy that you want to do life with, you have got to step up to that choice. And that was one of those moments to step up on that choice. That, and again, it was for you in the way that it was for our relationship together, that I couldn't put my head on the pillow that night knowing that in my heart I wanted to step up in that. Even though there was risk to it and there was all kinds of stuff to it, the kind of person I am, I just had to do that.
Yeah, but
Well, and that gets back to what I was thinking before when I asked you to breakfast, let's say, or that time that I asked you to lunch. I knew that our relationship wouldn't be what I was hoping it would be if it was just waiting for every summer at the events, and then all year we don't really have any interaction.
nice.
And I kind of looked at my friend base, and there's reasons why in my life friendships can be a challenge, can be a little bit difficult. But I told my wife even, I said, I really enjoy TK, and I think I'd like to be a better friend to him and for us to develop our friendship. I said, I think I'm going to ask him, to lunch or breakfast and then just keep connecting. And she said, why TK? Not that she was opposed to
Right.
it. She just, why TK? And I literally told her, I said, well, because he drives a truck and he drinks whiskey and his language isn't so great. And my wife knows me well enough. She goes, I get it.
But
All right. So what is it like? Maybe I'm the first that you've been close enough with, but what's it like being friends with a pastor? And do you get anything from anybody else in your life, positive or negative, because of that?
oh, my wife, my kids are on board because they know that the friendship's good for both of us.
Sure.
I think, and I don't. If outside of church, where you're not expected to be a pastor, you're a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not running around Sioux Falls shopping at Menards going, "Hey, I'm a pastor. I'm a
Yes.
pastor. Can I get a 2x4, please?"
I don't have the
So,
collar.
so how would they know?
Right.
You're not a fire and brimstone kind of person. I know that the relationship's been good for me. It's brought me closer to God, and
Because I preach at you?
no, just because I have a friend that you're interested in. When you have a friend, you're interested in what your friend's interests are.
Sure.
So if I'm not in church here, I'm still watching as you well know, watching your sermons on Sunday. The church should be something that you get something out of that makes you feel better when you're done.
Right.
And you do that for me, and that's big in my life, because if you're not as a non-pastor, if your whole life isn't revolving around Bible study and preparing the next sermon and doing churchly things, when you're doing things involving God, I'm doing things involving God. Don't let this idiot kill me. but your life just goes in other directions, and some things get removed from your life just by admission.
Sure.
And it's not a conscious decision, or I never was anti-God. I just wasn't that close. And you and I being friends, of course, has brought me closer, because that's part of our topics when we discuss things.
Right.
But it's for me, knowing the person that you are brings a great deal to knowing the pastor that you are.
Sure.
And that's how did a wise man say that one time? He says, "You're in the right business."
Sure.
I don't know who said that, but I agree with him 100%.
Okay, so let me ask you a question on the other side. Now, a lot of guys doing interviews or podcasters aren't going to ask these kinds of questions, but they're important for me because, I want to live as real and as authentic as I know how to do. So when you look at me, this friend that you have, what do I get wrong? What things do I miss? What things could I improve on? What ways can I be a better friend than I am? I know that's totally putting you on the spot, but
I don't think you should have to work at being a friend. Do you and I work at it?
well,
Maybe you do. I don't. I mean,
no, I mean, we have to.
we could
have
not. We could not do breakfast
Yeah,
and sleep
right.
in. But I mean, that to me, that's
I got to eat anyways.
right. So, you sound like a salesman. Well, you eat, don't you? Oh, let me sit down across the table for every. Sell you this out of windows. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so if there's a guy watching this right now, and he's got a list of friends in his contacts, and he doesn't feel like he really has that guy that he can call at 2 a.m. He's looking at that list of contacts and he's wondering, are any of these guys that? What's your advice to him?
Wednesday morning, get up at 2 a.m., call them all, and see which one doesn't get mad. That's your guy. The others will weed themselves out, right?
Okay, so there's some truth to that, right? You're saying test it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so what does he really do?
What's he really do? Be a friend.
Invite one to lunch?
Yeah. Go have breakfast and he's gonna say, yeah, I guess we could go have breakfast. I'm not really doing anything, or work on projects together. If you're mechanical, work on a bike or work on a car together. Help a guy with his Jeep, or if you're a carpenter, and talk to somebody about their house if they need something done. Say, well, I've got some experience with that. Could I come over and maybe help you?
Right.
We could hang out, have some coffee.
So what you're really kind of pointing at here is like, as we just do life together with guys that we're, together in proximity because of our work or because of some, like we go to church, we got guys that are always there, like whatever it might be. And guys talk about things that they're doing or things that they're up to. It's saying like, hey, if you need help, I'll help.
Well, don't be insincere.
Yeah.
If it's somebody you want to get closer to, say, you and I have been friends for a while, and I was thinking about it the other day. This might be weird, but I'd kind of like to get to know you better. I said, you want to go have lunch or breakfast, or go for a motorcycle ride, go
Right.
go to a gun show, go to go to a museum, or go.
Right.
And like I said, you and I had known each other for a few years before it probably hit both of us kind of at the same time, that, well, maybe there's something more here.
Well, and I was hoping so, but
Yeah.
you go on that first date,
Right.
and you kind of see how it goes. And I remember afterwards, you were like, so that's it? Because you thought I was going to ask you something.
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
I was,
Okay.
and I was just like, no, this is it,
Okay. I don't remember that.
I think the guys are nervous identifying someone and revealing to that person that they've identified them. There's something vulnerable that we have.
Right.
And so maybe for that guy at 2 a.m, maybe that's it. Like you got to step up on one of these guys. Like pick one and just try it.
Right. And we're, to be honest, we've done this for a year now?
Yeah.
Probably. And I'm finding out a lot about the way you felt about me that I didn't know.
Sure.
I hope, but
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that I hope that me being a friend to you could be as beneficial for you as me having you as a friend has been for me.
Oh yeah. I can't even imagine my life right now without TK in it in some way. So
It'd get boring.
it wouldn't be nearly as interesting. Okay. Now you got 2 boys, men now.
Yes.
Grown men.
22 and 24.
What do you hope they see in what they've watched you in your life about friendships with other men?
The most important thing, I think this is probably about the most important thing to developing good friendships. And I think it'll explode when I say it to you, is you have to be honest. And everybody has to know you're honest. Integrity. I call it integrity. And it's knowing what the right thing is. It's getting your priorities straight. Took me a lot of years to get there. And I've tried to shortcut it to my boys, and they're incredible, incredible human beings. And wow, the integrity. There's nothing worse than thinking you have a friend and having them betray you. And we've both been through that. I think at one time, I heard you say something to the effect of every friend you've ever gotten close with has stabbed you in the back in one way or another. And I had the same effect. Maybe that's there is a higher power, whether you believe in God or Jehovah or what you believe in, there is a higher power. And sometimes things happen that can't be explained. And I think putting us together, I felt like, boy, that was the good Lord looking out for me, because that saved my bacon. But then now I'm finding out that maybe that helped you too.
You got that right.
So he might have, he might know what he's doing. Might have been, yeah, might have been, oh, there's a serendipity. I could kill two birds with one stone here. Put these clowns together. It ought to be fun to watch. So.
Okay, last question I have for you. So with this podcast, I'm not exactly sure sitting here right now what that title is on this podcast, but basically
Saints and Sinners.
It's going to focus, this focuses on male loneliness.
Right.
And there are guys that click on this podcast from Australia, Britain, all around the United States, and they're going to see the title of male loneliness, and they're going to look, make sure nobody's watching, and they're going to click it. Because they're going to want to know something. They're coming in with a hurt, a void, a struggle, a wish, a hope that they could have a friendship because they feel lonely, and they're not acting like it, and they're not telling anybody, but they know deep down they are lonely.
Do they know that they're lonely?
They know they do. I think a lot of them are figuring out that they're lonely. They're just feeling like they're missing something.
Yeah.
So, with that, what do you want to tell them?
You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that. I was living life. I had my wife, I had my kids, I had my Jeeps, I had, friends everywhere. I didn't know that I needed a closer friend in my life. I didn't know how beneficial it could be. Boy, it's worth anything you put into it. I'll tell you that. This has been a great ride for me. I'm going to enjoy every minute of it the rest of my life. So the magic in life is getting your priorities straight. God first, you second, wife third, kids next, family, friends. But the biggest secret in life is to put yourself out there and to be 100% who God made you.
Yeah.
He didn't make you perfect. Damn it.
For sure.
How boring would the world be if we were all Jesus and perfect?
Right.
It'd be a great world, but it'd sure be boring. Mm-hmm. So go find that friend. Man, it's worth it. It's worth anything you put into it and everything you put into it. You get paid back 10 times over. Yeah. It's just really a miraculous thing.
Right.
I didn't know I was lonely. I had no idea I was lonely. I didn't know I was lonely until 5 minutes ago. I knew that I didn't really know that there was something missing in my life. Sometimes you don't know until you find it, until somebody shows you. But the minute you stepped out of the blue and stood up for me, kind of out of nowhere, I went, why would somebody do that? Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's what a real friend would do. Right. And we weren't real friends at that. I mean, we weren't close by any stretch of the imagination at that point. But you did that one. I mean.
Well, let me tell you when it happened for me with you.
Okay.
And this is well before us ever going to breakfast. And when it happened, it shocked me, and I didn't know what to do with it. And it took me a year or two to actually digest it.
Really?
My son's graduation.
Oh.
So you show up to my graduation. We don't know each other super well.
Right.
For you to come to the graduation, big deal. You're there for my boys. Also, so two things happened. I had shared with you some of my struggles of some of the choices maybe my kids were making and future kind of stuff, and you kind of pulled them aside and had that conversation with them there. That meant a lot to me. But the thing that meant the most to me, and the thing I couldn't get my head around for at least a year, is that Corvette. You brought that Corvette. And you got struck up a conversation with my dad for whatever reason.
Never met him before.
You struck up this conversation. And, of course, he's a Corvette man. But he's in his 80s. So Corvettes, that life is done. And now he's on fixed income. Corvettes are done.
Right.
And you're talking about that Corvette. And something in you invited him to sit in that Corvette. And he had no business getting that Corvette. He physically nearly impossible. I would have thought he'd never get into a Corvette. You got him into that Corvette. While this whole thing is going on, I don't even know that that's happening in that moment.
Oh,
And you gave him his very last ride in a Corvette.
huh.
And that was undeserved. But you did it.
Yeah. I said, "You want to drive it?"
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, no, I can't." I said, "Sure you can. Put the key in, turn it. I'll jump in. We'll go for a ride."
Yep.
You
gave him
no big
that
thing to
life-
me.
For him, it was the world.
I know. I had a ball watching
He
him.
had and for me, someone that would be willing to do that we weren't, that was in a way, that was your way, I guess, in how you do things that made me aware that if I invite TK to lunch, there's a lot less risk than there might be inviting somebody else.
Wow.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's not the only reason I'm a friend with you, but it was one of those first things that kind of got that marker. So, in saying that, this is my friend TK. And I have TK as a friend because I need a friend, and TK is the kind of guy I need. So you get yourself a TK, or get yourself a pastor, or get yourself somebody doing something, but get together, connect, because it's worth it.
It is worth it.
That's the interview. We'll get back to the podcast here, but TK, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
All right.
But you just watched it. That's a way through. You didn't get told who to blame. You didn't get told just suck it up. You watched a man who from the outside looks like the last guy who'd be a pastor's closest friend sit in a room with me and let himself be known, and you watched me do the same. Like, there was a moment in there that I want to come back to. TK told you about the story of the Jeep Club, what happened, the leader who came unglued on him, and the moment that I stepped in. What he didn't know until I said it out loud on this recording was what the cost had been for me. The chasm that I saw, and the choice between the club and him, and the pillow that I couldn't put my head on until I'd made that choice. And in this interview, when he heard me name the cost, his response was this. He said it pained him a little bit to think that I had felt that way, that it had to be either or. He said, I want you to know, that wasn't for me, that was for you. Now sit with that. The friend I chose tried to release me from the cost of choosing him. You see, that is a thing that the discourse can't see. The empathy tribe is going to tell you that a friend is supposed to be a soft landing for all your problems. And the consequence tribe is going to tell you that a friend is supposed to be earned by being useful. And both of them are wrong, and they are wrong in the same direction. They're both treating friendships as a transaction. One person needs and the other person then provides. Real friendship runs the other way. A friend you actually need is the one who, when you pay a cost to be in his corner, tries to talk you out of paying it. And not because he doesn't want you there, but because he doesn't want to be the reason you paid it. Now, that's not loyalty. That's love without a transaction underneath it. Here's the practical landing. The one I told you at the top that I'd give you. You don't need 30 friends. You need 3. Not for the network. Not for the volume. But for the knowing. And this math isn't going to work itself out all on its own. If you want a friend, you're going to have to make a friend. Like I told my wife that years ago, sitting on the couch, looking at the empty chairs around my own table. So you pick one. One guy you've been around for a while. One guy that you've laughed at the idea of being closer to because, well, he's not what you would expect. I mean, maybe his language isn't yours. Maybe his politics aren't yours. Maybe he drives a truck and you wear a tie. It doesn't matter. You ask him to breakfast. And when he thinks you have an agenda, because he will, you tell him the truth. You don't. You just want to make a friend. One more thing about TK before I let you go. You met him in this interview. You heard him talk about his boys, heard him talk about the work. You heard him tell you what he thinks I get wrong. But here's what you didn't see. One thing about TK that you may not realize is that he will always notice the person in the corner of the room. The outcast person, the marginalized person, the little bit quirky kind of person, the one nobody's talking to. And TK will seek them out. And he invites them to join. He moves heaven and earth to make them feel cared for, to make them feel included. He gives them a nickname, he teases them a little bit, but he shows them that they matter. Look, I kind of feel like I picked TK as a friend. But honestly, I stand in that corner way more than I like to admit. So maybe TK picked me. He is one of my very best friends. He's one that I could call at 2 a.m, and I know he'd answer. And all the king's horses and all the king men would come a-running. And it's because of who he is. And it's not because of what I've earned with him. It's not because we agree about everything. But because of who he is. I think most men are lonely. They just don't know it. You don't have to stay in that. Look, you know somebody. There is a TK in your life right now. And we all need a little more TK, don't we? Look, and you've been watching them for a while. You've laughed at the idea. Stop laughing. Ask him to breakfast. There are hard things all around us. And the question isn't, will it get to me? But what will I become because of it? Let's navigate this thing together with grace and grit and come out hopeful. Grace with grit. I'll see you in the next one.